Hello. So in the last session we have discussed about our single angle struts and we have discussed two things regarding that. The first one was concentric loading and the second one was eccentric loading. Now from this session onwards we'll be focusing on our next thing, that will be a double angle strut. Clear? So moving on to today's question. The question here is: a double angle discontinuous strut consists of two ISA, that is two angles are being prescribed, two ISA 80 cross 80 cross 6 mm placed on the same side of GP. That means both the angles are being placed on the same side of the gusset plate and tack bolted. Tack bolted, that means the bolts will be not considered a design, it is just for keeping the placement of it. Clear? And the length of member is 3 meter between the intersections. Determine the compression capacity of member, that means we need to find PD, that is our total design load or design compressive load. Assuming FE410 grade, that means Fy will be 250 megapascal. The strut is hinged and at both ends. Clear? It is mentioned that strut is hinged at both ends. So now, as it is a double angle problem, so now we will be focusing on this, that is page number 48 of your IS code. So page number 48 of your IS code, we have seen this in the previous session, that was for eccentric loading, but again, as it belongs the subtopic of 7.5.1, the main topic 7.5.1 was of single angle struts. Clear? And now it has been given that we are dealing with double angle struts. So now we'll be focusing on this topic, that is 7.5.2. Clear? 7.5.2 is for double angle struts. Here you can see again two subtopics have been mentioned. The first is here that you can see 7.5.2.1 and the second is 7.5.2.2. Again, going through brief, there is a statement we mentioned, but for your simplicity you can say that 7.5.1.2, that is this lower bottom left side, is given for the double angle struts when they are placed on opposite sides of GP. So these statements or this clause will be used when it is given that the double angle struts are being placed on opposite sides of GP, and this, that is 7.5.2.2, will be used when the double angle struts are joined or are connected on the same side of GP. And as our question suggests that it is joined on same side of the gusset plate, we'll be using this clause, that is 7.5.2.2. So going through it, it says that double angle discontinuous strut connected back to back on one side of gusset, clear? That means same side, or by the equivalent of welding shall be designed in accordance with 7.5.1. That means though it is a double angle strut, but if they are placed on the same side of GP, that is a gusset plate, then we won't be solving it through a double angle, we'll be always solving it as a single angle strut. Clear? So single angle strut, that means our 7.5.1 that we have seen earlier too. And so as you can see here from the clause, it is said that if the members or if the ISA is connected on the same side of GP, and then it will be considered as a eccentric loading. So whenever the clause, that is 7.5.2.2 incorporates, we will be always considering it to be eccentric loading. Therefore, we will be solving using this thing, that is, we will be finding the value of lambda E, yeah, from this page, that is page number 48. So now moving ahead, the next step will be to calculate the values of our area. So that will be calculated from a steel table. So from steel table, as you can see, again we will be focusing on single angle sections. Don't move on to our steel table page, that is for double angle sections, as we are dealing with single angle steel, though it is given as a double angle strut. We will be focusing on our page number 4. Here it is given as for ISA 80 cross 80, and the first row is 6 mm thickness. So you can see the sectional area here is 929 mm square. So 929 mm square will be a sectional area. And moving on to page number 5, here you can see that our minimum radius of gyration, that is RVV, is 15.6 mm. So these two things will be always calculating it from our steel table. Now the function or purpose of steel table is completed. So now we'll be moving on to our next step, that will be section classification. So section classification can be always obtained from table 2 page 18, as you can see here. Again, though it is a double angle and we are solving it at single angle, we'll be always using this row for our struts, and we will be calculating three ratios, that is B by T, D by T and B plus D by T. So our value B by T comes out to be 13.33 that is less than 15.7 epsilon is verified. The second term again will be verified, but the third term comes out to be 26.66, and as per our clause, the maximum value that it can attain is 25 epsilon, and in this case it goes beyond 25 and it comes out to be 26.66. Clear? So as we saw in the previous two sessions, our previous two examples, that all the three conditions were satisfied, and if all the three conditions are satisfied, we'll be using AG equal to AE. But if any of the condition is not satisfied, we can't use A equal to AG, and we'll be using some other alternative methods. Clear? So as you can see here, this is a typical sum. Here all the three values are not satisfied. As you can see, the last clause, that was B plus D by T, is not less than or equal to 25 epsilon. So this value or this ratio is not satisfied. So we can't directly write AE equal to AG. So now what to do? Now you will be using this statement or this ratio only. If B by T was not satisfied, we could have used this clause. If D by T was not satisfied, we would have used this ratio. So whichever ratio fails, we will be using the same ratio to prove our AE value. Okay? So we'll be using the same equation. But now, if as the sectional area, or as you can see, the ratios are not satisfied, we will be solving, or we will be assuming a term that the ratios are being satisfied. That means the value here comes out to be 26.66, and now we'll be assuming any number that is less than 25 to get our final answer. That is based on our assumption. So we'll be assuming that D plus D by T comes out to be 24 epsilon. Clear? Again, it is just an assumption to prove that our section is verified and classified or not. We need to assume any value that is less than or equal to 25. You can still opt for 25, but it will be on the horizon whether it will be satisfied or it won't be satisfied. So we will be using one value less, that is 24. So whenever the ratio fails, we will be always using the ratio to be equal to 24 epsilon. Clear? So as you can see, that B plus D is already given in the question. So B plus D by, so if we make B plus D as our subject, the value comes out to be B plus D equal to 144. Clear? Again, we need to find the effective dimensions. This is the gross dimension, that is 80 cross 80 are the gross dimension. If the whole gross dimension was utilized, then directly A equal to AG would have incorporated earlier too. Clear? So now we'll be finding that what a part of section or what part of angle is not satisfied, and we'll be removing that part to find our ultimate, that is effective area. So this is our first case, that is B plus D comes out to be 144. Now we'll be finding the effective area, and this equation for effective area you need to remember it. It is not mentioned in your IS code. So every time whenever the section or check fails or the ratio fails, you always need to remember this equation, that is effective area equal to B plus D minus T into T. It is not mentioned in our IS code. So as we have already obtained that B plus D was 144, so we will be substituting 144 here, and we will be getting the value of effective area. So this is how you will be finding the value of effective area each and every time. Just you need to remember this equation, that is B plus D minus T multiplied by thickness. The bracket portion will be a effective length. This will be a effective length, and this will be a thickness. So length into thickness gives our area. Clear? So this B plus D minus T will be our effective, that is our effective length. Clear? So you need to remember this equation every time, and in this case our AE, that is effective area, comes out to be 828. Now we will be just proving that whether we have solved is correct or not. So we will be just randomly using this case, that is B plus D by 2 was 144. As you can see that it is an equal section, so B will be equal to D, but it is given that, or it is proved that B plus D equal to 144. So our both dimensions will be same. So you can write that B equal to D equal to 144 by 2. That comes out to be 72 mm. So our total length was 80 mm, out of which 72 mm is only effective. So the ineffective portion will be of 8 mm. Clear? So the ineffective width will be of 8 mm. And now we'll be finding our final answer as per our equation that we have obtained here, and it comes out to be 24. So it is just simple check, it will be always satisfied. Just you need to check whether what amount of ineffective width you have obtained. Clear? So this is how you will be proceeding ahead whenever AE equal to AG doesn't satisfy. Yeah, this was the major change. Now the remaining portion will be the same. Moving ahead, the next thing will be finding the value of lambda E from this equation from a page number, that is page number 47 and 48. As you can see here, lambda E will be equal to K1 plus K2 plus K3, that you can see here. So the values of constants are K1, K2, K3 can be obtained from table number 12. So as you can see in the question, it is given as strut is hinged at both ends, but it is not given that what amount of bolts are being considered, whether we are using one bolt or we are using two or more than two bolts. It is not being prescribed in our question. So whenever the number of bolts are not given, we'll be always assuming it to be equal to one bolt. Again, whenever the number of bolts are not given in the question, we will be always assuming it to be equal to one bolt. So consider one bolt at each end and the condition that is hinged is given. So our K1, K2, K3 will be this term, that is K1 will be equal to 1.25, K2 will be equal to 0.5 and K3 will be equal to 60. So these are the values of K1, K2, K3. Now we'll be moving forward to the lambda VV and lambda phi stuff. So as you can see here, again we have seen in the last session also that the denominator portion, that is pi square epsilon, in only portion that is pi square epsilon, the portion that is epsilon will be equal to capital E. That is a printing mistake, it is not given in our IS course, so you need to remember it. And the value of lambda VV and lambda phi comes out to be 2.164 and lambda phi comes out to be 0.15. So this is how you will be proceeding ahead, and the final thing will be to substitute everything here in this equation and to find the value of lambda E, that is our effective slenderness ratio. So the term lambda E here comes out to be 2.22 or 2.222. Yeah? So after solving this, lambda E will be using our equations that are given in our page number 37, and now we'll be finding the value of phi. So for phi, we'll be first focusing on the imperfection factor, as we have seen earlier too, that imperfection factor for angle will be always equal to 0.49 because it belongs to buckling class C, and for buckling class C, alpha will be always equal to 0.49. So after solving this, we'll be getting the value of phi to be 3.464, and after we're getting the value of phi, we'll be focusing on the term FCD. So substituting everything again in the term FCD, the FCD, that is design compressive stress, comes out to be 37.04, and the final value of our load, that is PD, comes out to be 30.67. Here we will be substituting the value of effective area, clear? Not the gross area that we obtain from our steel table. So this is how you will be proceeding ahead if the double angle section or strut is given, that is placed on the same side of GP, and any of the three criteria or the three ratio fails in the section classification. But now again keep in mind, the sum is for a double angle strut. Most of the student does mistake here, that after finding the value of PD, they don't proceed ahead and they finish this answer here and the marks will be deducted. Generally 1 or 2 marks have been deducted for just one answer, because it is the most important thing that whether you have understood the question perfectly or not. The question was for our double angle, but we had solved it for a single angle. So the value or the final load that we obtain here is for single angle, clear? But as it is as two angles or the double angle section is provided, the final answer of ours will be the value multiplied by 2. Most of the students forget this thing and the marks are being deducted all there. Okay? So keep in mind, you always need to multiply the value by 2 in the final answer, because it is a double angle section being given in the question. Yeah? So this is our final answer, and this will be our today's exercise problem. Solve it because it will be helpful to you, and in the next session we will be using some more sums. Thank you.